What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to talk about meals, and we're going to talk about, should you cater or should you prepare your meals in-house for your adult daycare? But first, like, comment, subscribe, do all three, show some love, buy a shirt, do something. Let's go, guys. All right, number one, or just kind of like a question to ask yourself when you're considering this topic is, what is your focus? Like, do you have the ability to put a focus on meals, or is are you just starting out and you can't hire someone to manage the kitchen, so you really need to put all your focus on the activity side of it, and like maybe you should cater your meals out and just simply order food? Like, where can you put your focus, or where is like your skill sets best utilized in this starting point? Like, I mean, hey, if you have enough money where you can hire someone to manage the kitchen and they can order the meals and prepare the food and do all that stuff in the very beginning, like, more power to you. That's amazing. Then maybe go that route. But you got to ask yourself these questions, like, does it make sense for us to hire someone to manage that side of the business now? Depends on how fast you grow and scale. Number three, can you manage and food prep and clean up efficiently, right? At the end of the day, whether you choose to cater or whether you choose to, basically do all your meals in a house, it really comes down to what is the most effective and the most efficient and most affordable way to do your meals in the beginning, okay? Because if you're just starting out and you don't have a big staff and you don't have a massive need, it might make more sense to kind of order food as needed through a local vendor, through a local mom and pop deli, whatever the case might be. But as you scale up, you might say, hey, can I have someone oversee all this cost in-house and maybe save money? But let's go through the different questions you might need to be asking yourself if you're deciding whether you should cater or whether you should do this stuff in-house. Let's talk about catering. So when it comes to catering, you're gonna wanna find out, and every state's gonna be a little bit different depending on what those food service laws are like. But one of the things that you'll wanna just at least ask yourself or ask the caterer is, when would you submit the order? So say you establish this relationship with them, would you submit the week before? Would you submit the same day? Is there a certain cutoff time? Just having an understanding of, when do you submit the order to the catering company? Because the reality of it is that you might have a estimated attendance, but it's gonna change every day. You never know when someone's gonna fall, or something's gonna happen, or someone's gonna get up late, or someone's not gonna wanna come in, or there's gonna be a storm, or something. So you're gonna wanna find out, when is the latest that you could submit your order, because that average daily attendance is going to change, plus or minus 5 to 10 people. That sounds like a lot, but it's gonna depend on the size of your center. But just the reality of it is that if you have X number of them scheduled, you're more than likely gonna have 5 to 10 people, either plus or minus whatever your estimated attendance is, so it is gonna vary. Do they deliver? Does the catering company you're looking at, do they deliver, or do you need to pick up? And if so, does it cost extra, or is it part of that kind of, whatever the cost is to you? When it comes to cost, do they bill monthly? Do they bill weekly? Is it a certain dollar amount for X amount of food that they're just going to provide, and it's up to you to figure out if you need to up it or lower it? Is it for to serving 30 to 40 people, or is it going to be billed per person, or is it going to be billed per meal? Depending on how it's set up, a catering company, they might provide a meal that's way more food than is even necessary for our seniors. And so it might be one of those things where they might bill per meal, but you might split that cost up between maybe 2 individuals. So really their meal is actually sufficient enough to serve serve 2 people. So it's you have to ask yourself, are they gonna bill per person? Are they gonna bill per meal? Are they gonna bill monthly, weekly? Is it buffet style? How are they gonna handle that billing? And do you have any influence over that? Or is it is the way it is? The other one would be special diets. How are they gonna accommodate for that? Maybe you get that last minute call, someone's gonna come to your center that day, and the reality of it is that person has a special diet. Can you just call in and make that change? Do they offer alternatives or other options for people? And then also, how flexible are they gonna be with last minute changes? This is why I always suggest when it comes to the catering side of it, is it's important to maybe establish a relationship with a mom and pop deli. Someone that you're gonna be able to kind of get to know, that is kind of willing to be flexible with you and kind of work with you, and that you can build a relationship with, and that if some of these things come up, some of these variables that are an unknown to you, that at least you have somebody that you can work with. And then let's go talk about preparing in-house, okay? Because preparing in-house, you're gonna have to, who is going to prepare the meals? Do you have somebody? Can you hire someone? And then also, is your kitchen in compliance? Do you know what your local laws are? You know, like obviously if you're gonna have a cook surface, like with a flame, or if you're gonna be like, have like an area that's got like a skillet or a stove, you're probably gonna have to have some sort of like fire sprinkler system or a hood system, you know, in case something happens. You know, if you're gonna go with like sandwiches and kind of just light duty stuff and maybe not any hot meals, then you might have different compliance things that you're gonna have to, you know, be in compliance with, and you'll have to kind of just check with your local city or county or state agency to see what those compliances, or what that compliance would be. You know, who is going to shop for the food and manage the food and kind of, you know, control waste? Because again, you could have someone, you could hire somebody, you could put them in this position, they could be shopping for the food and, you know, be responsible for the inventory when it comes to food. But the reality is they could be spending way more money than the person over here if you just catered it out, because there's no inefficiency here, right? Like you're getting enough food for the day. Where here you might have inefficiencies. Those inefficiencies might lead to, you know, cost overruns, which might lead to preparing in-house might cost more. And it might simply just come down to, you know, like your efficiency and how many people you have and things like that. Again, in the very beginning, it might make sense to cater. As you grow and scale, it might make sense to prepare in-house. Kind of just depends on your situation. You know, how are you gonna accommodate for special diets? How are you gonna handle like things like dishes and silverware? So if you're catering, are you doing all disposable, or are you actually using your own plates and your own silverware? And if so, is there gonna be someone that's gonna like take care of the cleanup side of it, right? Same with preparing a house. Are you going with disposable, or are you gonna be going with, you know, plates and this and that and all these, because every time you add something like managing the food, preparing the food, you know, cleaning up after the food and all those other things, they add more responsibility and more jobs, you know, to a role that is not your primary focus. Your primary focus is making sure people are having fun and getting them excited and making sure that they're living their best life. But, you know, if you add this food component to it, you're gonna be responsible for these other things. And how much of that responsibility do you want to take on in the very beginning? How much of it do you want to maybe pass on to a caterer? Last but not least, when it comes to the cost of food, is you're thinking about, okay, what does it cost to feed each person, you know, that comes through our doors? And then maybe what is the food supply cost? So things like, when I say food cost, the food cost might be like the direct cost of the caterer or the direct cost of preparing that food. But if you're talking about disposable silverware, if you're talking about, you know, drinks and these other ancillary items that might contribute towards food supplies, you know, what are those costs for like the, you know, the knives and the forks and the silverware and the plates if they're disposable, in kind of like the, you know, the paper towels and the napkins and the placemats and all those types of things. Depending on how you have yours set up, like what is that cost? So, you know, at the end of the day, you're gonna shoot for and try to be around like a $4 to $6, you know, basically food cost per person. Okay, and so maybe the actual food cost is $3 per person. You know, maybe the food supplies cost is like $1.50 per person. But either way, you want to shoot for a range of somewhere between $4 and $6 per person. The other thing that you should ask yourself too is, are you going to allow your team to, you know, eat meals as part of like that, that's part of their compensation for that day? Or are they allowed to eat the meals that you guys prepare, or do they have to pay for them? Or do they, you know, what are those things? Now, in my opinion, you know, we don't charge our, you know, our team for their meals. They just get to, you know, eat what is available as far as, you know, the meals that are being prepared that day. And if there's, you know, if there's some left over, like then they can have seconds or whatever the case might be. But the reality is obviously our members are our primary focus, and then, you know, anything left over, you know, we have there for our team to be able to eat as well. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, it's a small way to give back, you know, but when you start charging people for things like, you know, like small items like this, you know, it can be such a kind of petty thing at the end of the day, because, you know, there's not a massive cost per person, you know, but it is one of those kind of little added benefits, you know, that it might be kind of helpful for your culture. So that being said, it's important to consider, should you cater or should you prepare in-house? What is the best option for you? It's a decision that only you can make, but you should think about, okay, let's first, before I decide either way, go see what my catering options are. You might quickly find out that you have a great catering solution right next door, or you may find out that catering is just out of the question because it's too expensive and there's no one in your market that can serve, your needs the way that you need them to be served. So that being said, hope this was helpful when it comes to identifying how you should handle your meals, at least maybe provoke some ideas, some questions, some thoughts. If you guys have any questions, if you guys like to learn more, if I didn't cover something in this video, please comment below. Let me know what you would like for me to cover. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Let's see you on the next one. Now let's get back to work. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to learn how to open your own adult daycare center, go to adcpro.com. If you'd like the latest business tips, click here, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click here. We'll see you guys next time.